Hey, LIB Magazine. We are here with Robert Ottone, author Robert Ottone. Rob, how are you?
I am doing well.
So, what is this that's next to you? Her Infernal Name. What is that?
That is my second collection of short stories. Has a lot of Long Island folklore that somehow found its way into there. It's got one novella, and it's surrounded by like 17 other stories that hopefully will keep you up at night in time for spooky season.
So, the novella. I guess that's Her Infernal Name. That being the title track, I guess, or the title
Yeah, I like that. The
piece.
title track.
Yeah.
Yeah, Her Infernal Name is the title track of the collection, and it deals a lot about fear. It deals a lot of sort of things about fear of missing out. It talks about fear of the economy and fear of social media, possibly corrupting a teenage girl, and very dark. It's one of the darker things that I've ever written. But I had a lot of fun writing it at the same time. It was fun getting really creepy and weird, and that's a space that I can thrive in, I think.
So, first off, first question. How'd you come up with the names of Shosh and Royce?
Yeah. Shosh, I actually had a student whose name was Shoshana. I'm a teacher in my everyday life, and I just really like the name. I really enjoy the name Shoshana. I think it's beautiful, and I also wanted to contrast the concept of sort of the traditional, like a traditional biblical name like Shoshana, compared against something that's a little more ancient or goetic, which is something that you find in that particular novella. So the juxtaposition of a very beautiful religious name that's very much so rooted in the Jewish tradition against something that's a little more nasty and Old Testament.
Okay, that's interesting. Um, Now, it was a dark tale. It was a dark tale. It was a dark piece. Was the first thing I had to ask, and I don't want to give away any spoiler alerts, but at the end, the ending of the novella, there was other people in the room. Was Inga one of them?
I think it's fair to say that Inga might have been gone by the time all of that started happening.
So
Yeah.
So what you're trying to tell me is that this is more psychological, where I can come up with my own, where you're supposed to come up with your own interpretations. Thank you.
I think it's fun when an author gives you a story, or like a movie can do that too. Like you look at something like Hereditary. You know, yes, there is a definitive answer to what it is, but at the same time, you're thinking the whole time, like, what the fuck is going on right now? And I like when a story does that. So I'm glad you had that thought. That's actually, you're one of the first people who's said that you wondered if that character was in the room. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's a whole reason why she's in it on the front end. Maybe she's there in the room at the end, maybe she's not. And I guess in many ways she is, but in some ways she's not. I know that that's kind of an annoying, sort of a cop-out, kind of authory, pretentious answer. I'm sorry.
It is, but we kind of expected that, didn't we?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, the title track being Her Infernal Name. Do we have an excerpt for that? Can you share an excerpt for that?
I would love to, thank you. Shosh's eyes adjusted in the darkness, and her mind started piecing together what she watched the best she could. Royce on her back, seemingly pressed down by what could only be described as a massive tongue, or what she thought was a tongue, connected to a pair of shoulder blades. She thought she could make out hands gripping the bed. To the side of Royce's head they looked elephant-like, massive, and bunched with brown flesh. The only distinguishable feature was Royce's hair. She could just barely make out the girl's face in the mound of flesh retching and shaking on the bed. Eventually, Royce's face fully emerged from beneath the sheet of thick meat. She looked sweaty, in a daze, her face slick with fluid. The girl gasped for air, chewing on something unseen. Her eyes were dark, a hazier shade of the normal bright brown gold they usually were.
So, thank you for that excerpt. How'd you come up with the idea of the boat scene? Like with you put in a 15-year-old or a teenage girl from Manhattan, for lack of a better word, a Yenta from Jersey, and a Saudi Arabian oil kingpin. How does that cross?
So it's kind of weird, right? So like I wrote all of Her Infernal Name, and then I met a girl who is considered to be an Instagram influencer.
Okay.
Nice girl, you know, perfectly normal. And she literally got, like, we were hanging out at my buddy's house, and she's like a friend of his girlfriend. So she was over, and she was like, "Oh, I just got a message. This guy wants me to fly to Florida and like go hang out at his house and go on his boat and take pictures and blah 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 blah." And I started picking her brain. I was like, "So I just wrote this thing. Tell me if I'm a little off base with the kind of stuff that happens on these trips." And she was like, "No, you're. Sometimes they do expect something. Sometimes they don't." So it's like this weird, dark, creepy world of social media influencers and stuff. And I think when you look into some of these people, some of them are like perfectly nice, cool, normal people. You know, I follow a couple YouTubers who I'm a fan of and stuff, and they seem like perfectly normal dudes. And then there's like the ones who are just constantly on boats, like the duck face thing. Like, it's just weird to me, and that's kind of what I was seeing Royce as.
YOLO, best life ever.
Exactly. Live, laugh, love. But like, I was obsessed with this notion, and I was like, these girls have to be doing something nefarious to get these trips. And I understand that they're bringing attention to the hotels that they go to and stuff like that, whatever, but there has to be something more to it. And it turned out I was right in some cases, which is kind of an ugly reality we live in, but that's kind of where that came from. So taking a girl like Shosh, who is perfectly normal, everyday kind of girl, and putting her with this like insane lifestyle 15-year-old influencer, then you introduce where that money comes from. You know, a Saudi oil magnate seemed to be the thing that made the most sense to me. Mix it together and you get a particularly creepy moment on a boat.
Well, you mix them together and you get Her Infernal Name. That's what happens.
That's good.
The Irwin Agency.
Yes.
The Irwin Agency. I kept reading this and I kept thinking, is that hell? Is that your opinion of hell?
That's an awesome question. Yes. Hell is infrastructure.
So hell's agencies, huh?
Yeah, hell is endless red tape. Hell is representation of a nefarious nature. That kind of came from like I tried to go to a cigar lounge in the city with a buddy of mine, and we went to this building. Literally, the number of the building was 666. And I was like, that's not a good sign. So we go in, and it turns out it's run by an agency, and it only caters to diplomats and high rollers. And their price of membership for the year, $200,000 a year minimum to join. And the guys
that's if you get in.
That's if you get in. And the doormen laughed at my friend and I, because we were like, oh, we just looked it up. Like, we found it. They were like, no, we can't even take you up there. Because I was like, I'll give you $50 right now. I just want to see the place. And then we actually ran into a guy with a car outside who had just dropped somebody off to go to that very place. And he was like, oh, no, here's what goes on there. And he told us about some of the really dark stuff and told us about the company that runs that dark place and just a lot of weird stuff. And I was like, this has to be put in Her Infernal Name. And I sprinkled it throughout the book. The Irwin Agency does pop up a couple other times. They pop up in another story that I wrote recently that I just sold. So they are a prevalent thing in my literary universe that I'm building.
Where can we find Her Infernal Name and Other Nightmares?
It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can actually find it in the Barnes & Noble stores here on Long Island. I know Bayshore has it. They were very sweet to have me come in and sign copies. So if you're lucky, you might get one of the signed ones. Lake Grove has it.
I have one of those.
He does. John has one of those. But yeah, you can find it online. You can find it at a variety of bookstores.
I think I'm gonna have my. I think I want you to change my subscription to the Irwin Agency.
To the Irwin Agencies, yeah. They are a nefarious group. You're too nice to work for them. That's the problem.
Yeah, you don't know me that well.
Oh, fair enough.
All right, so once again, Robert Ottone, Her Infernal Name and Other Nightmares. Check out their publishing company, Spooky House.
SpookyHousePress.com, yeah.
And check out Her Infernal Name and Other Nightmares. Bob, anything else you want to add?
No, I hope Long Islanders enjoy it. I'm a Long Island boy, born and raised. And there is some Long Island folklore that you will find in some of the other stories. So I hope everybody enjoys it and gives it a chance.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.